Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. My name is Adam Portrais, and I'm joined as always by John Keenan.
Heidi has satin tights and fights for her rights.
And of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and I came in second place in the Nuremberg Judo Championship.
Oh, only second place? That's because you didn't try hard enough. And no, he did. He tries harder than all of us combined. I can't say crap about Bruce Leslie. No one can. No one, you hear me? No one.
The lady that won first place sure can.
Bruce Leslie, second place, women's division.
I love the way Adam can roll with it like he doesn't get the reference.
Well, we have a very interesting show for you guys today. Today we'll be reviewing Wonder Woman. What part? Well, that's up to that's up to the gods. But we'll be talking about that as we continue on here in our Patreon supporter month of spectacularness. This movie was supposed to be picked by one of you, but apparently they didn't get the emails or the direct messages or something. It's cool. We'll make up for it another time. Or we won't. I don't know. It all depends. You just got to email us, bro. I can't magically come to... And I think he lives way across the other side of the world. I can't go over to his house and go, hey, what's up, bro? Tell me the flipping movie you want to see. Can't do that. So it is what it is. And so today you've got Wonder Woman from 1970 what now?
77, give or take.
Give or take. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, but boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of stuff. Let's first of all, while we're talking about that Patreon train here, for those of you that don't know, you can go down to patreon.com/HMP, and at any level during this month, you've been able to be put into the... Oh, crud, I almost spilled the hat. All right. I'm waving it around, gesturing.
You're having a rough day, my friend.
It is. I'm gesturing like I'm Italian, and I'm just like, hey, everybody, check out the hat. And I'm like, oh, crap, I almost spilled it. That's what I get for displaying my ethnicity, as it were. And I'm not even Italian. What was I talking about? Right. So you can go to patreon.com/HMP and throw a couple shekels our way, man, and you get into the old HMP hat here, and you'll be drawn out, and we're going to get you a little prize. Today, I think we're gonna go. Let's do this. Let's go coffee mug. That was a popular one before that got sent to an incorrect address. Let's see if we can send it to someone else right this time and have it be incorrect address.
Alive, dude.
The failures just keep mounting here at Hero Movie Podcast.
Snake bit. Poor guy.
Can't catch a break, man. So let's go ahead. Let's dig into the pile here. My goodness.
Is it raining only over your head right now, Adam?
I think so. Lauren Carroll, I know you listen to this show. For the love of all that is holy, email me.
There might be some big shipping on that one.
Where does she live?
I think she lives in Australia.
Sweet Jesus. Lauren, just email me, baby. I'll get you something. Jesus.
Oh, my God.
Already my favorite episode ever. Already my favorite ever. What is it, like 153, and I'm finally loving it.
Guys, somehow I've super glued my head to the table. Sean, could you come over here?
Oh, my gosh.
Poor guy.
This is what my life has become.
Right. You might be better off just sending her like a $10 Amazon gift card or something that you can do just like virtual.
Maybe
email her a gift.
Just we'll make it right. Glad she didn't win next week, because next week's going to be a big one. Next week is something out of my own personal collection, and I swear to God, if I had to send that to Australia, I'd have been super mad. So, domestic shipping only. I'm staking the ground right now. I ain't shipping outside the continental U.S. I love you all with all of my heart and soul. There's no way in hell I'm sending that thing somewhere else because it's heavy. At least relative to my personal dollar, it's heavy. I'll tell you that much.
He's got to go into his parents' garage and build a crate for it.
Spray paint Fragile on top. Oh, I hate my life so much.
Poor guy.
Golly bum. So let's do something a little more fun than this. Anyways, so like I was saying, I want to tell people outside of being able to make fun of me, which clearly we can all do. Head on down to patreon.com/HMP. For those of you that are Patreon supporters at the $5 level and on up, you'll actually get the pre-show, which a lot of this humor would make a lot more sense to you if you had that pre-show, and all that kind of good stuff. And there's more things. There's a whole video there that you can watch, so it's pretty cool. We appreciate that and appreciate all of you for helping support this show and clearly trying to help me out of homelessness. We appreciate that. We did have a couple of new people up in here who I do want to recognize. Ken jumped in at the lovely $20 a month. Ken, props to you, my friend. That's a big one right there, boy. And we got another one. I talked about him last week. We'll talk about him in an email, Carlton. We'll talk about him in just a moment here. And so we'll do all that good stuff. Let's start out by opening up that there mailbag. Let's see if the MP3 works. I mean, just the way my life's been going, it's a 50-50 shot.
Fails here.
Thank goodness. All right, we got a big the HMP mailbag is filled to the brim this week, kids. So let's start this one out with our good friend, Maria. Maria writes as follows. Hey, guys, I've missed listening to you. My department just got audio device listening privileges again. Give us to us again. Damn work shenanigans. I'm also catching up on 3 months of material as I usually listen at work. Anyways, I've missed. I think it should be a comma there, Maria. Missed and loved your reviews. However, I especially loved the Logan review and the Guardians 2 review. Thank you. I've missed it, but when I may have missed it, but when you guys were mentioning wrestlers who act like Batista, did you mention the former wrestler The Rock who made the transition from wrestling movies rather well? Also, in regards to Guardians, now that Star-Lord is no longer... By the way, everybody, this is spoilery, but you've seen it if you're listening to this show, I would bet you. Also, in regards to...
Oh, do you think so? Because there's an email this week.
I know. Trust me, we're covering them all. We're covering it all. Also, in regards to Guardians, Guardians, now that Star-Lord is no longer half god, what have you wouldn't... I'm reading it like you wrote it, Maria. This isn't me. I swear to God. Wouldn't he be easier to be killed? So he'll be more like a human fighting bounty hunter, right? Keep up all the good work. Love you guys, Maria from upstate New York.
Yes.
He's going to be much easier to kill, so he's got to watch out.
And who's this Rock fella?
I don't know. I hear he's been in a couple of indie flicks that might have gotten somewhere.
I hope he's in Baywatch because I'm probably going to see that this weekend.
I think he's the king of scorpions.
Oh, I knew that name rang a bell.
Scorpions, eh? Interesting. Well, keep an eye out on that. I think he'll do quite well. I hope he doesn't run for president, as he's saying right now, because he could be put to better use in television and or movies. I love the man's work. This one is from long-time listener, Jim. Hello, Adam, Sean, and Bruce. This is once again Jim, your listener from the Philippines. I sent you guys an email, I think last year, that I'll give you guys a humdinger review. Apologies in advance. There are...
dang it.
Yeah. Apologies in advance. We are an Android OS-dominated country and not an Apple fan myself. I thought that I'd meet a friend that has an iTunes account or someone who owns an iPhone or iPad so I can post my 5-star review, but unfortunately, I'm still looking. I'd like to share that I'm one of your avid listeners since episode 40-ish, I think. You guys keep me entertained during the commute to work and back. Sometimes even when it's not allowed, I still listen to past episodes while I'm in the office. Keep up the glorious work, you guys. You touch a lot of people's lives more than you know. Regards, and that's from Jim. Jim, thanks, buddy.
Thank you very much.
When I tell people, I'm just like, seriously, we go everywhere. I'm like, a dude from the Philippines wrote us and told us he loves our stuff, and I'm just like, and if that don't just it blows my little mind. I'll tell you that much.
But so does Velcro.
Hey, man, that's fancy stuff.
How does it stick? It doesn't make any sense. It's like magic magnets.
It's so easily pulled apart, but yet can so snugly fit together. I'm always kind of a. You're a shoe guy, Sean. Are you like are you a laces tight guy, or are you like a just so? Like, do they have to be just there, or are you super loose? What's your tie-in preference?
Depends on the shoe is the answer. I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but it is. It's dependent on the shoe itself.
And how many pairs of Velcro lacing shoes do you have?
Yeah.
Because I've got like 7.
You've got me beat because I have 0.
You gave up on the ruse a long time ago.
I tell you this much: if you could find them in 13, I'd give it a shot. I like a tight shoe. I like tight laces on that bad boy. I don't know why. I like the snugness. I like a snug.
If
foot.
you've got a skater style shoe though, you don't want tight laces on that.
Not really, which is awkward because that's half of what. Well, pretty much all.
Yeah, you wear like Vans, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much. It all depends on what. and I say tight. Those aren't like. I mean, not as bad as like. Oh, all right, we're going off on a weird shoe tangent again. I swear to you, every show.
And before people make too much fun of me, in my defense, the Velcro shoes are those kind with the little individual toes in them.
Oh, well, there you go. He wants to let you know.
Those have got to be the ugliest shoes ever made ever.
That's why I've only got 4 pair.
This episode of Hero Movie Podcast brought to you by Skeletos. Skeletos, don't look like an idiot.
Nothing says I do not care about my sexuality like having shoes with toes in them.
Look, it's all my toes. Oh, well, that is super attractive, said no one ever. All right, next one is entitled Big Hum Singer. Maybe that's a misprint. I don't know. But it's from our friend Carlton, who and he writes as follows.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, just wanted to say that sorry it took me so long to get the Patreon in. Oh, no problems, buddy.
You did, and that's the important part.
Exactly. And it was an honor for me to support some people I view as a kind of a family to me. I wish I had Bruce's knowledge of comics, Adam's wit, and Sean's connection to Hollywood. I want to be a director one day. I just wanted to say hi for now. Please keep doing what you're doing. You guys are the best, and that's from Carlton. Carlton, thank you, man, and thanks for supporting us on the Patreon and everything, buddy. We really appreciate that.
Yes. That is awesome.
Again, man, this bad boy, she's filled up this letter bag here. This one is entitled Kirsten Dunst. This is from Ronaldo. Ronaldo writes, "What's up? I've been listening to the podcast for about a year now, and it's one of my favorites. But I'll save all the compliments for when I do my iTunes rating. This is kind of random, but I figured that I'd ask. Recently, an article came out about Kirsten Dunst saying she wishes she would have been there had been a Spider-Man 4. I posted on a forum that it was funny that she would say that, seeing as how she wanted Tobey replaced after the first Spider-Man. Now, pardon me. Now I swear. Now I could be wrong, but I swear I heard from one of you guys on the podcast. Heard that from one of us on the podcast. People are grilling me about that. I just want to make sure that I'm not crazy. Hopefully, you guys can confirm. Thanks for the podcast. It really helps the workday go by. That's from Ronaldo. Ronaldo, thanks, buddy. I'm not.
I think I'm the one who said that, and I stand by that. That I believe she was dating Jake Gyllenhaal. Does that sound right to anybody?
Yeah,
I don't have any idea about personal lives. I really don't.
That sounds good to me. I was watching Entertainment Tonight back then.
Yeah, and she was really pulling to have Tobey Maguire replaced with Jake Gyllenhaal for Spider-Man 3, I believe. Or it might have even been 2, but she really thought that Mary Jane was the center of the Raimi Spider-Verse.
It's really interesting.
That's ridiculous.
It's really interesting, though, because let's rewind some clock back here. I don't know if a whole lot of people know this. But Sam Raimi actually did want to do a Spider-Man 4, but Sony was just like, hey, 3 didn't do as well as we were hoping it to. And, of course, they were like, we want more of what we want in this, and Sam Raimi is not all about that. They finally shoehorned Venom into the third one there. And Sam Raimi's been on the record for a long, long time. He does not like Venom, wasn't a big fan. So he was like, here's what I want to do for number 4. I want to have, golly, bum, I can't do it today. I wanted to have the Vulture in there, and I wanted him played by John Malkovich. And everybody's like, ooh, well, that might have been good. But everybody's like, no, we don't want the Vulture. Get out of here with that Vulture. And come to find out, a couple months, we're going to have a Vulture in a Spider-Man thing. So eventually it all comes back around.
Yep.
So,
but no Malkovich, sadly.
No Malkovich, though. I think we're going to get an okay guy. That's just me. All right, we're going to wrap this up here with the mailbag here. This one comes from Matt. Howdy, gentlemen. First of all, Adam has assured me, even though I'm not actually your stalker, Sean read some of the other emails. I promise that I'm not a creeper, and I comedically referred to as the HMP stalker, and oddly, I'm okay with that. It kind of makes me a character on the show, so I guess that I could become the nemesis of Dr. Dan Du. Sean, feel free to add whatever voice you want. Just remember, I've been kind to you. LOL. I've listened since I listened to the 100th episode celebration after blowing through the back catalog, and I feel just awful for not being a patron sooner. Times are tough, but please be assured, if my wife and I win the lottery, HMP will get a minimum of $1,000 to $5,000 just to keep doing what you're doing.
And I really hope that includes like a scratch off where you just simply win a free ticket.
Yep, all of it. We love you guys, and I couldn't ask for a better thing to brighten my Mondays. Guys, thanks for being who you are. I can't wait for your reviews of the movies that we're getting this fall. Matt from Florida, a.k.a. the HMP Creeper Man. He put that on himself. I didn't write that in there, just so you know. Thanks, Matt. We really appreciate it. Matt's come a long way with this program, so we really appreciate that. And if you'd like to send us an email, you can email us at hearmoviepodcast@gmail.com. We really appreciate that. Let's close up the mailbag.
Bale's here.
Alrighty, boy. Woo! It has been a busy time here. Okay, let's get on to it, everyone. Let's listen, if we can, to the well, he said with
trailer?
With all the confidence in the world, but may have closed that trailer window.
Wonder Woman.
Very close. Bruce, my guess is you have a little bit of a comic book connection for us here, because I don't think unless I'm wrong, I don't think we've covered Wonder Woman solo. She's been in a couple of things, but I don't think we've ever done anything. Let us in on some Wonder Woman.
Not. Well, Wonder Woman always has the tagline, created by Charles Moulton. And Charles Moulton was the pen name of William Moulton Marston, a person who is also frequently mentioned as one of the pioneers of the lie detector. Now, I don't exactly know how accurate that is, but it is always a bit of trivia offered about the guy. Now, after last week's episode, I am sure everyone is thrilled to know that I'm going to champion the cause of the uncredited co-creator of Wonder Woman. Yes, we have another unsung hero in the creation of this character. Now, in a case of turnabout is fair play, this time it's the writer who got all the credit, and it was the artist who is performing work for hire. Now, one thing that I think makes Bill Finger memorable is that he's named after a body part. And I'm sure if he played baseball, ESPN's Chris Berman would refer to him as Bill Pull My Finger. Well, it just so happens that Wonder Woman's uncredited co-creator is also sort of named after a body part. Now, do either of you guys know who I'm talking about?
Richard Toe.
You guys don't know the original artist of Wonder Woman. Good. It's going to be a surprise. Now, I want to assure you that I'm not making this up, and I'm not trying to make a crass or sophomoric joke. Well, I do make those frequently, but just not this time. So here it is. I'm just going to whip it out, so to speak. Harry Peter. Yep. That's the name of the uncredited co-creator of Wonder Woman. Please, somebody, look it up and verify that I'm not lying here. But I want to know, what were his parents thinking? There are literally hundreds of thousands of first names that go better with the surname Peter than Harry. For a little insight, let me tell you about Harry Peter's parents. Once again, I'm not making this up, but they were Louis and Louisa Peter. Yep, that's right. Only the letter A separated the name of Harry Peter's father and mother. Now, I don't know what his father's middle initial was, but I like to think that it was A, so that his folks could have been Louis A. and Louisa Peter. But back to Harry Peter's story. His middle name was George. You know, he probably should have just went with that. George is a fine name. George Peter would have probably gotten a co-creator credit. But for some reason, the superhero created to be a feminist icon. The superhero described by Gloria Steinem thusly: Wonder Woman symbolizes many of the values of the women's culture that feminists are now trying to introduce into the mainstream. Strength and self-reliance for women, sisterhood and mutual support among women, peacefulness and esteem for human life, a diminishment both of masculine aggression and the belief that violence is the only way of solving conflicts. The superhero that was on the cover of the first ever issue of Ms. magazine in 1972 with the headline Wonder Woman for President just doesn't lend herself to the byline created by Harry Peter. Now, Harry Peter didn't have a long life of regret about being denied credit. He was actually 61 years old when he helped create Wonder Woman. He actually outlived William Moulton Marston, and he continued to draw Wonder Woman for 11 years after her credited creator kicked the metaphorical bucket. So where am I going with this? I'm not really sure, but I'm thinking about a documentary called Wonder Woman and Harry Peter, An Undying Love. You know, there's really a lot of odd, weird, dare I say creepy stuff that I could have talked about in regards to Charles Moulton, but I just felt the need to share Harry Peter with our listeners this week. Also, I've got to go back to this well in a couple of weeks, and I didn't really want to bring the A game on this episode before the big episode, so to speak. So this week's comic book connection is the one, the only Harry Peter.
Harry Peter, born in March 8th, 1880.
Yes. I'm glad you verified that this isn't just a Leslie-verse character come to life.
No, Harry George Peter, who I think wised up later in his years and did under the moniker H.G. Peter. So I think at some point he was just like, you know what? This name may be impeding my actually, getting out there and starting to publish some stuff. Maybe I should clean it up for the kids. The early 1900s were a bit of a more conservative time.
Yeah.
So we've got this. This initially was released as a like a television movie, a lot like a lot of the superhero movies, TV shows that we end up covering, be it Hulk, Daredevil, or any of these. They're not that had the Daredevil in it. The Hulk or the what was the other? The
Spider-Man thing started out as a movie.
Spider-Man was Greatest American Hero. So most of these things are starting off as a movie. Captain America, which didn't turn out.
Power Pack.
Power Pack. How dare you bring up Power Pack was a 30-minute program if it was, but honest to God, it was 2 hours if it was a half hour.
But this was a 1.5 hour runtime on TV, kind of an odd one because most of them, they wanted to fill the whole 2 hour block. But I guess they had a good lead in or something for Wonder Woman.
People are watching MASH.
And something that caught my attention, too, just reading about this pilot episode, but Stanley Ralph Ross did the script for this, and he's one of the big writers from the 1960s Batman, and he was specifically instructed to bring in some subtle comedy into the pilot. So I thought that was kind of cool to see. The guy from, the Adam West Superman writing the script here for the pilot, and I think I did see some of that humor. And another little bit of trivia, Lyle Wagner was in the running to play Batman and lost it out to Adam West for that 1960s show.
Listen, I don't have, I didn't have a lot, but I could have contributed that one. I did learn that, not by reading. I learned to read once. Come on. I think that was interesting, but it's tough to imagine anybody but Adam West, though, because it's indelible at this point.
And you know what? I loved Lyle Wagner on the Carol Burnett show, so if it interfered with him being on that show, I'm glad he wasn't Batman.
Carol Burnett shows, that's good stuff.
Were you a big fan of Carol Burnett, Sean?
I was a huge fan. I think that a lot of it that is lost to time, but I loved it when I was a kid.
The best parts were always when Tim Conway would get Harvey Korman to laugh during the skit and he couldn't finish it.
It's the best. Just oh God. Nope. All right, it's just going.
when I was a kid, that was awesome. But as a professional comic, that stuff drives me crazy. So I can't watch it with the same eye anymore.
Oh man. Well, talking about watching it with the same eye anymore, Lynda Carter, 1972's Miss USA, Lynda Carter. I watched her with a very different eye when I was younger too, I think.
Really?
I think that the two things that this show had going for it, because let's just put cards on the table here. This show is at the same level of that Spider-Man movie that we saw a few months back. I mean, it's not a solid movie or TV show in any way.
No way. You're joking, surely.
But the two things that this show has going for it that Spider-Man doesn't is Lynda Carter is gorgeous. I mean, she's absolutely gorgeous. Even now she is. So you have that, and then you have the music, because the theme song to Wonder Woman, I don't know anyone who doesn't love that song. Like, I mean, everybody loves that song.
Yeah. And, also I'm still a big fan of the Steve Trevor that we get here. And, as far as later on in the show, I'm sure that everybody understands it's quite a bit more expensive to produce a period piece than it is just to set a show in modern day. So they had to do a time jump to keep the show going. And it was suddenly, I think it was Steve Trevor's son, Steve Trevor Jr., still played by Lyle Wagner. I thought it was awesome. Had the same secretary, the same office, but just was in modern day instead of 1942 or whatever.
Like the episode before, they throw a little powder in his hair, just be like, we're going to bring in we're just going to wash that out of your hair. Then you're going to be the young version of you. Ooh, it's nice.
Yeah.
I'll be your kid.
But at least they made the effort to do that. Whereas, I mean, at that time, don't forget, you got characters that just leave shows and are never spoken to again. You have this guy used to be a mechanic and now he works at the paper mill. They did that all the time.
Yeah. But, I also think that one thing, and in all seriousness, one thing that, in my opinion, does put this just a little bit higher than those other TV pilots that we've seen, particularly from this era, is that they did make it a period piece. They do have those cool old cars. They really did kind of make it look like at least what I would imagine 1940s stage production quality would look like. And I think that was a nice touch that was missing from some of the other things we've seen.
Well, and there is a bit more craft to this episode, because it didn't feel. I don't know about you, Bruce, but it didn't feel like it was an hour and a half long to me. It was much shorter than that. Whereas, I'm looking at my watch even for the Trial of the Incredible Hulk, even though I love that episode. This flies by a lot quicker, and what I can't understand though is, Where is the line for this show? Like, when Steve Trevor is in his plane fighting the Nazi pilot, and the Nazi pilot is making all these weird faces, and just completely eating all the scenery and every little shot he's in. You have that because that's a show, that's part of the show. But then at the same time, you have what is supposed to be a very touching scene with Cloris Leachman and Lynda Carter. So where are you? What is this show exactly?
It's separate shows. They had different directors for each commercial break, I think.
It's what they call a directing round robin.
But really the best part of that whole dogfight over the Bermuda Triangle between Steve Trevor and the Nazi pilot was the actual...
Sir, that was not the Bermuda Triangle. That was not the Devil's Triangle. Bermuda Triangle. That was the Devil's Triangle. Totally different. Totally different place.
But the best part of that is the whole parachute drop after both planes get shot down and they both eject. That looked like a Carol Burnett skit. He's squirming around, totally silent, not even like background noise, no music accompanying it. They're just totally silent, clearly dangling from these ropes in a set on a sound stage. And I love the pantomiming of Lyle Wagner demonstrating to the audience that he can't get his gun out of its holster, and then he gets shot twice by the German. Gotta say, my favorite cheesy scene of this show. That's the one that's really over the top cheesy, in my opinion.
Looks like a Mad TV
Oh my
sketch.
God, it is, and it's so great. The thing I always harp on this whenever we're watching stuff like this is just how much fun it is. Like, this show is super fun when you're watching it. They know that this is basically for little kids, and they build it towards little girls. I mean, that's what this show is for. And it totally worked because my sister, I can remember growing up, my first impression of the show when we decided to do this was my sister running around at 3 years old pretending she was Wonder Woman.
Well, I'll tell you, I never missed Wonder Woman or Charlie's Angels growing up. Maybe for different reasons than your sister. I don't know. I was like 3 years old, so who knows what's my operating system is like then. But I do like, I got to tell you, I do like it when Steve Trevor kind of washes up on shore. And then Cloris Leachman playing Hippolyta is awesome, in my opinion, because she is given this great, I mean, really great, in my opinion, performance where she's telling Diana, Lynda Carter's character, Princess Diana, everything that's wrong with men, about their horrible masculinity and their aggressive ways. And the whole time she's doing it, she's just like gnawing on her hand. Like, you can tell she is so turned on talking about the awfulness of this masculinity out there. It's a wonderful, subtle performance, man, from her. I love the way she has to like bite down on her hand while she talks about it because she just can't control the flushing feeling that's taking her over.
Well, when you have Cloris Leachman, you're going to get Cloris Leachman,
And man, I wish that they had more of Cloris Leachman. She was replaced as the show went on, but she was wonderful in this pilot.
But she was replaced by the Addams Family. What's her name? From the Addams Family.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Morticia's character or actress.
Morticia.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize. I know they had two more Hippolytas as the show went on. I did not connect all those dots. But Cloris Leachman, great here. And, they decide they're going to have – and by the way, the first almost first hour of this pilot really, really closely follows the Golden Age comics, because I've got this nice hardcover Wonder Woman reprints of the Golden Age, and with a few little things that they omitted, this actually follows pretty darn close to the original Wonder Woman Golden Age origin story, down to being exploited as a stage show when she gets to the New World. So I'm enjoying all that. But we
isn't there? Maybe I'm getting confused by this, but isn't there two other Wonder Woman pilots from the late 60s and early 70s before this starts up? Because that's why this is called the all-new original Wonder Woman, right?
There was the Kathy Lee Crosby show, which kind of followed this era in Wonder Woman comics where she wore a leisure suit and didn't have any superpowers, and she was more like a lady spy. And then there was a show that I haven't seen called Who's Afraid of Diana Prince that was made in 1967 that was sort of a soft, sort of filling out the waters if people were interested in Wonder Woman. I haven't seen that, so I can't really comment on it. But you're right. There were two other attempts, but this is the one that decided to be quite faithful to the Golden Age origin.
And whoever and Who's Afraid of Diana Prince was made by the producers of Batman 66, right? That's the same people.
I don't know that information, but it sounds about right.
I think it is.
Which
is kind of cool. Maybe we should put
Woman.
that on one of our lists someday.
If we can find it. I tried looking for it. I can't find it anywhere.
Man, you mean to tell me you can find it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman, but you can't find the Diana Prince? That's sad.
Well,
That's
it might
sad,
be
America.
one of the, but Bruce, it might be one of those things where somebody owns the rights to it and nobody really knows, who has the rights. And
that's very possible. Very possible. But this track and field event that they have, sort of the mini Olympics, this is one of the things that they change a little bit from the comics. If I remember correctly, in the old comic stories, like one of the events is they have to either chase a deer or race a deer or something like that, like outrun a deer. There's a deer involved. And I really wanted to see how the 1975 camera crew and production of this show would have taken on the challenge of having a bunch of women chase a deer around an island. So I was sad that they skipped that, but I was glad they added arm wrestling to the series of events, because I'm pretty sure that there was no arm wrestling in the comic.
The deer thing's an easy fix. All you got to do is just let it happen and throw the Benny Hill music underneath it. Good to go.
I think they should have just put Lyle Wagner in one of those deer suits, one of those costume deer suits, and let them chase him. But also, man, all around Paradise Island, all the natives of Paradise Island, when they first discover Steve Trevor, it appears that the sort of traditional dress on this island is a silk nightie. And I know that this was sort of geared to get the attention of the little girls out there, but I feel like there were a lot of dads on the sofa saying they just wanted to watch this show with their daughter, when maybe, this is 1975, not a whole lot of silk nighties coming into your TV set during prime time.
Also, a lot of slow motion running on this show, I noticed.
Yeah,
a whole lot of Lynda Carter running from place to place in slow motion.
And they also invented some competition that's like the double dumbbell long jump. Like they have the slow-mo sort of, the picture-in-picture kind of thing where it's a double exposure, where there's one thing going on in the background, but in the foreground there's some lady with a dumbbell in each hand running and just jumping really far. They have some odd sports. They had like stone throwing, and I thought, okay, so it's going to be like the hammer throw or the shot put. But no, they're really picking up boulders and throwing them.
Well, I got to tell you though, like the main sport in this little mini Olympics thing, the bracelet shooting. That is, I would love to see that in the Olympics if that was a real sport.
And that's the only competition that I will swear to is straight from the comics. I mean, they did have bullets and bracers in the comics, and I think they called it bullets and bracelets here in the show. But that is canon there, the bullets and bracelets competition. And I got to tell you, man, when Lynda Carter ripped off that blonde wig, I was shocked. I didn't realize that was her.
Get out of here.
She had the mask, the blonde wig. I got to tell you, she's not bad as a blonde.
Well, just tell you, domino mask in a wig, you'll fool Bruce every time.
Hey, it's way better than Clark Kent's glasses.
It's good to know though for June.
Yeah.
Yeah, for June. I already see Adam dressed like Garth from Wayne's World trying to surprise me.
I met this really attractive lady. He seems to know an awful lot about me. He seems to get me for me. I like it.
So, but in 1975, when audiences were less sophisticated than modern day audiences, do you think there was at least like, one mom or dad at home on the couch that went, "Oh, that was her"? Like, do you think? I think somebody was probably surprised.
Listen,
then.
I have been to enough movies with enough large crowds when big reveals happen that are reveals that everyone should know, and they go, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm just like, "Are you mentally deficient?"
Well, Adam, as we all know on this show, no one's as smart as Adam Portrais.
Darn tootin'.
Well, I know that I recently attended a movie, we'll say a few months back. I don't want to spoil the movie, but I watched a movie where Bruce Willis made an unexpected appearance and somebody shouted loudly, "What's Kevin Costner doing in this movie?"
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
Wait a minute, is this the true sequel to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
Dances with Wolves again.
Man.
Every time I go into the theater, they're trying to push Dances with Wolves on me again.
Oh, and I also like it, man. Back to drawing in the dads to watch this with their daughters. They bring out a comic book accurate Golden Age costume with the skirt rather than the bathing suit bottom. And Hippolyta quickly says, if the skirt's too encumbersome, you can take it off. And after about 3 seconds of screen time, she whips that skirt off and we never see it again, because forget the lasso of truth. When it comes to Lynda Carter, those are the hips that don't lie.
Here's the thing.
That is absolutely correct.
Here's the thing. Lynda Carter got a lovely figure on her. I'm not gonna fight you there. The shorts are awful. They look like garbage bags.
Yes, the shorts are bad, but that's exactly what of the time. That is what that's what they would have.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, yes, they're terrible. They're god awful.
And was there some kind of like genetic experimentation, because they just don't make women like Lynda Carter anymore? I promise you, man, that this was lightning in a bottle here.
By and large, there's a lot of truth to that, and I dig what you're throwing down, and I'd agree with a portion of that for sure. It's fewer and farther between. I'll say that.
I'll just put it this way: you don't get those. I believe Lynda Carter is 100% Lynda Carter when we're watching this movie. And there may be people now that look similar, but there was a whole lot of medical bills going along with that look.
Well, take me for example. I don't look this good right out of the box. You got to work up.
Seriously? You've had work done? Good God almighty.
Oh, man. I told him not to go for the third breast implant, but he did it anyway.
I do it anyway. They're fun to play with. I hate myself so much, you guys.
I know, buddy. I'm sorry. But every time you set something up like that,
hey, I have to.
It's in my nature.
Oh, I know.
I can't help it. I'm sorry.
It's like the scorpion and the frog with us.
Exactly. And I'm just wondering, hey, why did this happen? You knew.
So, Bruce, did you know the Barbara Hershey stuff with this show?
No.
Because I didn't know it until I did the research on it this weekend. So Barbara Hershey plays Wonder Girl on I think the third season of Wonder Woman.
That seems to be ringing a bell.
But here's what happens is that she hates it. She hates every second of it, and she cannot wait to get out. So she uses the money that she makes on Wonder Woman to sue the producers of Wonder Woman to get her out of the show.
Weird.
It's crazy. And so when you listen to her speak to that time, it's weird because she's blasting everybody. She hates the producers. She hates Lynda Carter. She hates everything. But when you listen to the Lynda Carter side of things, Lynda Carter's like, that's a surprise to me because I thought that we were friends. And so when you do a little bit more digging, I'm sorry, it's Deborah Winger, not Barbara Hershey.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And so Deborah Winger, when you do a little bit of digging, has basically hated everything that she's ever worked on. And like she hates Richard Gere, she hates everybody. And so I'm gonna side with Lynda Carter on this one, that they were probably friends and Deborah Winger wanted more money.
Yeah, and by all accounts, man, and I've never met Lynda Carter, but by all accounts, she is nothing short of lovely and pleasant.
Right.
Exactly. It's one of those things I think that we go back to a lot on the show is like those people that are the kind of scumbaggy people, you hear about that, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't even have to do a ton of digging. Like, I mean, that's within 10 minutes of me going, oh, Deborah Winger was on Wonder Woman. And so 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, hey, that is
she was
not
just
good.
bitter because she heard that Dinah Girl had a better deal on Electro Woman than Dinah Girl.
I totally doubt that since it's on Saturday mornings.
Oh, man. But I like it, too, because Hippolyta is talking about what to do about Steve Trevor to Diana Prince. And she says, don't worry, if he wakes up, his eyes will be bandaged so he won't see anything. And then, I don't know, do we blame the costume department, the prop department? Who's responsible for this bizarre eye bandaging that's essentially like 2 green poker chips and the world's thinnest piece of cloth tied around his eyes?
It's so weird looking. You know what it looks like? You know what it reminded me of? Like a bunch of years ago when you used to get children's medicine and they would give you this weird little spoon at the pharmacy?
Yep.
That's what those goggles look like to me.
That is, I mean, how hard is it to come up with a convincing blindfold, man? This is your line of work, Sean. Have you ever been so desperate you found the first 2 green discs in a very thin piece of cloth to make a blindfold?
Well, look, man, I mean, when it comes to stuff before the big change, because, movies and TV shows used to cost a lot less to make. Yeah. And the reason why is because it was all sets. And like the Brady Bunch's backyard is AstroTurf and, just all that stuff. And it's charming. It's not, to me, it doesn't take away from that time period. It's just what it is. And, people are bumping into like the set walls and stuff and everything shakes, like when you get into a fight on something.
Yeah.
And so when you're seeing stuff like this, my guess is that they had something, the prop people had something on set, and that director who died minutes after this movie, this TV movie was shot, was like, no, I don't like that one. Get something else. And so they found these weird little things where we're like, what about this? And he went, perfect. I love it.
Now, they fly back in the invisible jet. And I got to tell you, man, I don't think the invisible jet, or the invisible plane, as they call it, I don't think it's stuck around in later seasons, but I'm loving every frame of the invisible plane that we get in this movie.
Man.
Here's the thing, especially
so
during...
good, and they're... It's so good, and they're so clearly, like, I remembered it a lot different. Like, I remembered, like, you could see it from the ground, like, flying over. No, there's none of that. And then when they're close up on the cockpit, like, that looked a lot different to me as a kid than it does now.
Yeah.
Where it is so clearly a Saturday Night Live sketch. It's so good.
I love it, man.
I did too. It's so great.
And she gets back to, and this is a part that was confusing me, because there's all this talk about Brooklyn, but there's also all this talk about like the Pentagon. So I couldn't figure out, are they in New York or are they in Washington, D.C.? But I think they're clearly supposed to be in D.C. because they have to fly to Brooklyn later on. So she gets back to Washington, delivers Steve Trevor, and then just suddenly becomes a nurse. Did any of you guys think that was a little bit of an abrupt transition?
Yes.
Look, sometimes you got to pay bills. You know what I'm saying? And if the place that you're going to requires a security deposit, boy, howdy, you better get to working.
Well, I think it was beyond their technology to tell the comic book accurate description of how Wonder Woman becomes a nurse. But Wonder Woman delivers Steve Trevor, and then she bumps into a nurse that looks exactly like Wonder Woman, who happens to be named Diana Prince, and she's in love with the man in Argentina and wants to go marry him, but she can't leave her patients at the hospital. So Wonder Woman agrees to take over her shift as a nurse and lets her go to Argentina to marry the man she loves. That is the comic book story of how Diana Prince became a nurse during World War II.
Happens every day.
Oh, that's so great. So
and
good.
I would have loved it, but I don't think they could have done, Lynda Carter talking to Lynda Carter on this budget, but that would have been so awesome.
You'd have that real
well,
awesome...
I think that would probably have come later, right? Because the show only lasted 3 seasons, so you got to think that after a while, because they did that all the time on $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman, where they're fighting each other all the time. Remember?
Yeah, that's true.
To get back to it, so Leonard Horn is the guy who directed the pilot to the show. And he died in 1976, like literally days after they shot this pilot.
Oh, man.
I know, it's crazy. And so 1975 is when this show came out originally, when the pilot was aired.
Well, she gets back, to D.C., delivers Steve Trevor, and then goes out and stops a bank robbery pretty closely to how it happens in the comics here. She's walking down the street. Somebody's robbing a bank. They shoot at her. She blocks it with her bracelets. Then they take off, and she actually chases the car. She runs like 50 miles an hour in the comic to catch the car, and then picks it up, and the wheels spin in the air. Here, they didn't want to try to give us a sped up film of her running really fast after a car. I think a wise decision. They just have her pick it up.
Very smart.
And then the talent agent, just cruising down the sidewalk or whatever, notices all this and signs her up to do a show the very next day of the bullets and bracelets technique.
So is Red Buttons in the comic book also?
Might as well be. They did a good job of casting this character from the comic book, the talent agent. But and I like that. But what I don't like is what kind of psychopaths lived in America in 1940, because what kind of wannabe serial killer volunteers? They got a guy from the military, decorated sharpshooter, volunteering to go up and attempt to shoot this woman. I don't think I want that on my conscience. Like, I understand she's probably going to pull off the trick, but let's just say it's the one time that Houdini got killed. I don't want to be the guy that killed him.
Look, it's the 1940s, man. Men want to kill women all the time just on account of.
And I'm telling you, the guy that goes up there with the gun, he's got that empty Ted Bundy look in his eyes, man. They cast that guy perfectly.
Got a 1,000-yard stare going, you're going to get some. Watch out now.
And then what's best is when they pull up a grandma with a Tommy gun in her purse.
Oh, so good.
And nobody has any questions. That's what I love.
Secret Nazi.
Was that Fanny Flagg?
Yes, it is.
That's what I thought. But, man, speaking of odd names, I met a Amish woman named Fanny Yoder once when I was...
No, I am... I am...
No, it's
you know
true,
what?
though.
I am mistaken. Fanny Flagg is the Amazon doctor.
Oh, okay. I didn't know who Fanny Flagg was here, but I knew she used to be on, like, old Candid Camera and stuff, so she's a comedic actress.
Right.
Guys, we've said Fanny enough. I think we're going to get the explicit tag in Britain.
Yeah. That's a real big problem.
Did you guys recognize or Bruce? Sorry,
yeah.
Bruce. Did you recognize the taxi cab driver?
No.
In this,
who was it?
It's a lady.
Yeah.
It is Mama from Throw Mama from the Train.
Oh, from the Goonies, man.
And from the Goonies. That's right.
I should have recognized her.
I knew it
was a lady that looked very much like it was a tough lady, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
we need a tough old broad.
And I'm having a lot of fun when they're sticking with the whole comic book golden age stuff, and then suddenly everybody's a Nazi. It falls into this territory where everybody's a Nazi, and they're trying to put some legitimate sort of World War II style intrigue and getting away from just the golden age silly escapism. And it loses me a little bit there. That's all that stuff. I'll just sum it up as everybody's a Nazi, and Lyle Wagner has a very poorly choreographed fight, and the stuntman's wig almost comes off during a couple of the scenes there.
Great Broadway play. Everybody's a Nazi.
If they'd cast Lee Majors, it would have gone down a lot smoother than that. He would have been a good Steve Trevor.
He could take a dive. He's a good guy.
And then
you don't ask for prime rib when all it is a side salad. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
You don't bring in Lee Majors to be second fiddle.
He's like, I got to be a what now? No, thank you.
Well,
a little busy.
He burned the contract in front of their face just to show them.
Well, Wonder Woman finally confronts Steve Trevor's receptionist in the Pentagon building or whatever building it is that they're in, because, of course, she's also a Nazi. And she reveals that she was the judo champion of Nuremberg. And this is a little bit of fun. It's maybe the first fight of its kind involving Wonder Woman where just a mildly accomplished martial artist woman gives her a pretty good fight here. Whereas, I like to think she probably would have, snapped her like a twig in the comics.
There's a lot of throwing people.
That's the they clearly have her depowered. You have to, because how are you going to show Wonder Woman ripping a woman in half?
It would have been awesome. It would have been awesome.
Oh, you were the judo champion, you say? Oh, okay. Rip.
She does have a great line, like, apparently whoever taught you didn't teach you how to fight fair or something like that. But she eventually gets the old lasso of truth around her, and she confesses the whole problem, which gives us an awesome excuse for Wonder Woman to go back into the invisible jet and chase down the evil Nazi pilot trying to bomb Brooklyn.
So good.
She just lands right on top of the plane and goes in there and takes the German guy out. And I got to tell you, man, that the judo champion of Nuremberg, Marcia, the lady, gave her a much better fight than the Nazi fella did.
Who kind of looks like Randy Quaid. For some weird reason.
I do like it, too, because at the beginning of the show, to back it way up, he's kind of the first character that we meet. And one of his underlings walks in and he goes, "Please, let's speak in English in case someone is spying." And I think, well, anyone who would be spying on you would clearly understand English. So what are you trying to keep secret by speaking English here?
Oh, you know what? We forgot my favorite part of this entire show. Thanks for reminding me of the Nazi pilot, because the Nazi pilot that Steve Trevor gets into it with your favorite scene of them parachuting away from their plates is that the Nazi pilot shoots Steve Trevor. And then he gets eaten by sharks.
Yes, you see all the sharks circling and he starts squirming. I love it.
Oh, it's so good.
You can't make this stuff up. It had to really happen that way.
So good. I totally forgot about that. And I was laughing out loud. That was so funny. And then sorry for derailing you there,
that's
Bruce.
Okay.
I had to mention that because it was my favorite part of the entire show.
Well, the big kicker at the end of the episode is when the general is talking to Steve Trevor and he says, you know what? We learned our lesson by having one of those hot ladies as your secretary. We hired a real uglo to be your secretary now. I mean, he paraphrases it, but he says, you know what? We intentionally picked the ugliest woman we could find to be your secretary. And of course, out walks Lynda Carter that even with a bun hairdo and a pair of glasses is nowhere near the ugliest person that you'll ever see.
Yeah, and by the 70s also, isn't that a contrivance that isn't even considered real anymore? You know, because, I mean, just look at popular culture on WKRP in Cincinnati. It's not Lonnie Anderson who's the hot one on that show. It's the other girl.
Yeah, Bailey,
you know, with the glasses and, you know, the ponytail. Like that contrivance is completely gone. But I guess because it's set in the 40s, you can try to get away with that, I guess. I don't know.
Now, what was the name of the actress that played Granny Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies? I can't remember her name right now.
Well, let me find out. You keep talking, and
because
I'll find out.
A nice contrivance, if they wanted to go all in and have us believe the secret identity, is just cast Granny Clampett to be the civilian disguise of Wonder Woman, and then when she does her little spin thing, out comes Lynda Carter. I think that would have sold us.
Amazing.
No more sexy secretaries. We got Granny Clampett for you now.
We have an 89-year-old woman who is fiery as all get out. And
she drinks a lot of moonshine and she's good in a fist fight.
But she also types 98 words per minute, which is pretty good.
However, they're all misspelled, so you got to take what you can get.
You know, she throws E's where they don't belong, but God bless her, she tries. And frankly, we're afraid to fire her. She seems very ornery.
Irene Ryan.
That's Miss right.
Irene Ryan. That's who we needed to play Diana Prince, and then let Lynda Carter play Wonder Woman. And, you know, now that I've said this, I also remember that I think Cloris Leachman played Granny Clampett in that not-so-good movie that they made.
First of all, you are wrong. That movie is fun.
Well, I'm a big Jim Varney fan, but I haven't heard a lot of good stuff about the movie.
Who would have guessed that Grandma Clampett's name on that show is Daisy Moses?
Yeah, sounds about right. My grandmother on my mother's side bore a striking resemblance to Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Bragger.
Oh man. But yeah, I love it that they bring out the ugly receptionist, and you know, that's how it's going to be. We did get the spin change in this pilot, but it wasn't the classic spin change, you know, where Diana Prince spins around and Wonder Woman comes out. It was almost this voyeuristic slow turning and undressing thing that was a little, I think, too grown up for this show. And I can understand why they went with the swirl of light when she spins and she emerges as Wonder Woman, because it was odd.
Yeah. It's like they didn't nail it yet.
Yeah.
And you know, just watching a couple of YouTube clips today to try to get some more information on the show. There's this weird thing that started happening with the character of Wonder Woman with the spin, where not only after a while on the show, not only does she spin and turn from Diana Prince into Wonder Woman, she will spin from Wonder Woman and turn into like skateboarding Wonder Woman.
Oh, I love those novelty costumes too.
Spin and then turn into motorcycle Wonder Woman. And those are awesome. Like, it's so fun to see that stuff.
And there are two different scuba diving Wonder Woman outfits. It's great.
That's true. That is also true.
Scuba A, Scuba B.
Yeah. But overall, man, better than it could have been. I'll just leave it at that. I think they did all right.
Oh, I love these. I absolutely love the show. And you know, if things start drying out years from now and we don't have any superhero ideas we can totally go back to this.
Yeah.
All right, so before we wrap this thing up here, we got to find out how this television program relates back to the most magnanimous man in Hollywood history, Sylvester Stallone.
Hey, thanks, Adam. I have a prepared statement. There's a few Stallone connections this week because Stallone is everywhere. But because I'm the type of guy I am, I'm going to go with the Muppets. Because both Lynda Carter, who plays the title role in 1975's all-new original Wonder Woman, and Cloris Leachman, who plays the Queen, have both worked with everyone's favorite non-sexual puppet factory. In episode 84 of the Hero Movie Podcast, our review of Star Wars The Force Awakens, I mentioned that Stallone was also on an episode of The Muppet Show. So the same guy who can say he's dated Vanna White, Mary Hart, and Janice Dickinson can also say he's been in the same dressing room as Lynda Carter and made out with Miss Piggy. I tried to do some digging to see if there was any romantic entanglements between Stallone and Lynda Carter, yet somehow these two people never put their hands on one another, which is surprising because it was the 70s and everyone was bumping beautifuls with everyone. It's hard to understand this about the Muppet Show now, but at first the producers had a hard time getting guest stars, so they would call their personal friends for help, which explains why Twiggy is a guest host in the first season. But think about it like this. Can you see Daniel Day-Lewis appearing on Crank Yankers? No.
That'd be great.
But then everything changed like the night my ex-wife told me she was leaving me in my garage after Rudolph Nureyev agreed to appear on The Muppet Show. Having the renowned ballet dancer appear on such a weird little show created such buzz that the show became popular, and soon celebrities were lining up to appear with the Muppets. Now, Lyle Wagner, who was cast as Steve Trevor for the series, as Bruce mentioned earlier, also has something in common with Stallone because Stallone lost the 70s Superman role to Christopher Reeve, and Lyle Wagner lost the role of 1966 Batman to Adam West. Lyle Wagner is probably best known for being the handsome guy on the Carol Burnett Show, and weird old women and vintage gay dudes will know him best as the first Playgirl centerfold in June 1973.
Yeah.
But the coolest thing about Lyle Wagner is that he got tired of being overlooked for handsome man roles, so he started a company called Star Wagons, which supplies makeup trucks and bathrooms and movie star trailers for movies and television. Star Wagons are used on every big budget movie and TV show being filmed everywhere at all times. And Lyle Wagner started that company because he was tired of getting scripts that Tom Selleck blew his nose into. So there you have it, HMPers, this week's Stallone connection. Now, Red Buttons and Deborah Winger, let's review this TV pilot so we can get back to our first love, anthropomorphizing frogs with felt.
Indeed. That's a little piece of history I didn't know there about the old honey wagon train there. That's pretty interesting. All righty.
Isn't that awesome?
I had no idea about that. That's pretty cool. Okay, everybody.
Wagon is in the guy's last name. What do you expect?
You just have to go with what you know.
His grandpa was a wagoner. His father was a wagoner. Now he's a wagoner.
Does that smell in here? Does now, Lyle. All right, let's get down to it here on Hero Movie Podcast. We have our own official Robin rating system. If you'd like to know what that is, you can go to facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. It's right there at the top of the page. And while you're there, why don't you go ahead and drop us a like on that as well, man. We're almost up to 2,000 followers. Still crusting on that last little bit there, man. Help us go over the big hump there. Bruce, what is your official rating for the Wonder Woman pilot?
I like this better than the other pilots we've watched from the 80s, 70s, 60s kind of thing. I definitely liked it better than the Greatest American Hero pilot. I liked it better than the Hulk movies that we've watched. Sorry, Sean, I liked it better than the Spider-Man movie that you're so fond of. This is my favorite of like the older, the pre-modern sensibility superhero shows. So I got to say that I like this. When viewed in context of what else was out there at the time, I really liked it. Also, I have to mention once again that I had an unhealthy and lifelong obsession with Lynda Carter, so that probably taints my view a little bit. But I really like the Carol Burnett show. I really like Lyle Wagner. It's a big plus. Cloris Leachman is great in this. I wish she had a little more screen time. The costumes are great. I love that it's a period piece set in World War II. This really has, in my opinion, sort of a proto-Agent Carter feel to it. I love how closely it follows the Golden Age comics. I'm giving this a non-ironic, honest-to-goodness Tim Drake.
Very nice. Mr. Keenan.
Yeah, it's a Tim Drake for me as well. This is my favorite of the retro series. And even though Bruce is wrong, it's not better than the 77 Spider-Man. It is great. It's okay to be wrong, Bruce. I'm wrong all the time. But this is a really fun, really enjoyable watch. This is something that if it's on in the background, no one is going to go, "Why are you watching this?" People get why you are watching this because it's funny. And so it's a Tim Drake for me.
All right, down to me. So some of you astute listeners to HMP are probably listening to this entire thing and going, boy, Adam is not jumping in as much as he normally is here. And some of you are going, thank the Lord above. But it's funny that all this happens, really, because months ago, we created someone had asked a question, and we created a Robin rating that we figured we'd never really have to use. But today, it's going to be the first time ever that we've actually broken it out. So my review for this, my Robin rating for the Wonder Woman pilot is a Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now, for those of you that don't know what a Joseph Gordon-Levitt is, that's where you didn't get to actually watch what we were reviewing. Because at the end of the Dark Knight trilogy there, we see Joseph Gordon-Levitt going up. We find out his name is Robin, spoiler alert. And but we never actually get to see him as Robin. So this is the didn't get to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt Robin. I had a hell of a time trying to find this thing, man. And I'll tell you this. During this program, I skimmed through as we were going along with it. This looks far better than anything I watched, and I am royally angry. Because I'll tell you this, those first 2 episodes of Wonder Woman, they're garbage. Watch this. It looks a lot better. The action, the production quality is better. In the first episode, I was literally falling asleep. It was slow, it was sad, it was boring. I'm watching this thing. It's colorful. There's a lot of action going on. This is the thing you need to watch. So what I will say is ignore all the other stuff. Watch this pilot, as I will now, because honestly, it looked interesting that way. And I'm mad at the internet and mad at the world. But then again, what else is new? So that's a Joseph Gordon-Levitt from me. But believe me, I will be watching this before the end of the year, and I will review it on our year roundup. Believe me, it'll happen. Okay, so next week, Patreon month continues forward, gentlemen. It keeps on going. We got one more up here, and this time we're going to call on all the people who support us on Patreon, patreon.com/HMP, to vote, as they do every single month, for the movie or television program that we'll be watching coming up. So this one, we have a very interesting variety of programs to go with. I'd say
I want to talk about this for a second because you cut me off during the pre-show, Adam.
Okay.
But because the Wonder Woman series is coming, or the Wonder Woman movie is coming, and because we have 3 options on the movies where the main protagonist is a woman, that is what we should do. All of these movie choices should be all women related.
Honestly, that was where I was going, and I don't know how we reconcile the first one. I'll do the other 3. Maybe we can think of a 4th one by the time that we finish this.
Very good.
So yeah, because we're on the same track here. First one up, Barbed Wire. This is these first 2 we put up for votes before have not won, so we're putting it up again in an all-lady spectacular. So we got Barbed Wire. That's right. Pam Anderson was a thing that people were interested back in the 90s. What happened there? Tank Girl, a perennial favorite. I think Bruce.
I think hepatitis happened.
That's not untrue.
Hey, I
as
love
well.
Lori Petty.
So Barbed Wire, Tank Girl, and we're rounding it out unless we can think of another one with Elektra, which, by the way, if you want a sneak preview of what I think of that, go listen to Flights, Tights, and Movie Nights from a couple years back. I was on Bubba Wheat's podcast, and we reviewed it then. Apparently it's been long enough, and now I have to watch that a fun event yet again. So do we have another one that we want to throw in there?
Red Sonja.
Oh, yeah. Or we could go the pilot episode of Birds of Prey.
Ooh, that's a good one, too.
Let's do Birds of Prey. Let's throw that in. Or Birds of Prey. So you've got Birds of Prey, you got Barbed Wire, you got Tank Girl, and Elektra. So those of you that support us on Hero Movie Podcast at any level on the Patreon, patreon.com/HMP, any level, you'll get to vote. The voting will be open until Wednesday. Pick your favorite. Cheer them on in the comments, too, man. That we had a competition last time where everybody was really kind of smack-talking the other people, just saying how that movie's going to win, this movie's going to win, this one's terrible. So let's have more of that. I like the trash talk, and that's fun. So that is it, everybody. Another episode. I wish I could have been more impactful with this one. So that's kind of how she rolls. Until next week, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week, sir?
Well, you know, guys, I've heard before that if you can't find the story you really want to read, you need to write it yourself. So after spending years fruitlessly searching for a sword and sorcery book where the fate of the world depended on the outcome of a tag team wrestling match involving dwarves, I wrote Chubby Wizard, Wrath of the Manticore. Micah Hunter likes it, Marty Merrick likes it, and I think you would like it too. It's available on Amazon as an ebook and paperback. The audiobook has gone from coming soon to coming eventually. I swear I want to write a book about the creation of this audiobook. It would kind of be like that Apocalypse Now documentary, Hearts of Darkness. Ooh. But anyway, Chubby Wizard, Wrath of the Manticore, humor meets high fantasy. Check it out. Free to read for subscribers to Kindle Unlimited, $1.99 for the rest. Check it out, guys.
It's the best you'll ever spend. Keenan.
You can find me on Twitter at Hero Movie Sean, and next week I am going to be dropping a new thing, but I don't want to give it away yet. So next week there'll be a whole lot more, but this week just find me at Hero Movie Sean on Twitter.
Join us next time for Sean's new thing. Yeah. HeroMoviePodcast.com. You know all that kind of good jazz. Thank you guys so much. Join us next week for the Patreon Select. Everyone on Patreon, remember to vote. And if you not joining up on that Patreon, man, still got time, man. No worries for that. Patreon.com/HMP. For Sean, Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Edie.